Hey everyone, tonight we have WWF Magazine, September 1989, featuring King Duggan, wrestling's royalty. SummerSlam, feel the heat with our exclusive preview. The Rockers, illegal double teamers, Sean and Marty speak out. Savage interviewed, The Madness and his manager discuss Hulkamania, and a rude awakening, rudely interrupted by a wild warrior. And please excuse the condition of the magazine. It's going to be turning 33 this September. Three new spectacular WWF video cassettes. Order all three now. $59.95 each. WWF Superstars at your arcade now. I remember that one back in the day. WWF Wrestling Spotlight presents Ultimate Warrior. Newsbreakers. Heenan storms off WWF Wrestling Challenge. While Gorilla Monsoon and Tony Schiavone commentated a match on WWF Wrestling Challenge, mainstay color announcer Bobby the Brain Heenan erupted because he felt that he was being pushed to the sidelines by the two. Furious, Heenan laced into Schiavone and Monsoon with heated words before walking off the platform in a huff. Personality profile. Hillbilly Jim. Hillbilly Jim's lucky gold horseshoe was handed down to him from his grandfather, who passed away recently. Since wearing the horseshoe in remembrance of his loved one, Hillbilly has newfound confidence to go up against any challenger, including Andre the Giant. The big, likable Kentuckian greets his hordes of well-wishers before entering the ring for a match. An accomplished veteran of the mat wars, Jim goes to work on Boris Zhukov's leg. Hillbilly Jim fires a left hook into the midsection of the Giant during their titanic clash. WWF interview. A talk with Macho Man Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry. SummerSlam is almost upon us, and the world is waiting with bated breath for the time when Macho Man Randy Savage and the massive Zeus square off against World Wrestling Federation champion Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake at the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. To keep our readers up to date on this upcoming explosive confrontation, we arranged a meeting with Macho Man to ask his viewpoint on the impending battle. Of course, as would be expected, Savage's manager, Sensational Sherry, also spoke her piece. Randy Savage, one of the greats, and one of my favorites. Battle of the Titans. Tito Santana versus Mr. Perfect. Two superb technicians, Tito Santana and Mr. Perfect, wrestled a fast-paced, action-filled match. Each man exchanged a bevy of great moves. Early in the contest, Santana kept Mr. P at bay by applying several wrenching side headlocks. Mr. Perfect, utilizing his scientific skills, traps Tito in an abdominal stretch and goes for the pin. Again, Tito is wrapped up in a perfect stretch. Santana rebounded with a flying forearm, while Rick Martel came to ringside. After dropping Mr. Perfect with the flying forearm, Santana went for a cover, but Martel put Perfect's leg on the rope. Furious, Santana approached his former friend. When Tino applied a step-over toe hold, Martel again reached up to the ring. Santana, seething, took a swing at Martel. This gave Perfect the chance to attack Santana and roll him up for the pin. SummerSlam. Just when you thought the summer of '89 couldn't get any hotter, along comes the World Wrestling Federation's sizzling spectacular SummerSlam, live from the Meadowlands Arena in New Jersey on Monday night, August 28th. The following is an exclusive WWF SuperSlam preview, an indispensable guide to the summer's hottest event. In addition to the matches previewed here, more exciting matches will take place at this WWF pay-per-view classic. WWF Champion Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Zeus and Macho Man Randy Savage. WWF Intercontinental Champion Ravishing Rick Rude versus Ultimate Warrior. Demolition and King Duggan versus Andre the Giant and the Twin Towers. Dusty Rhodes versus the Honky Tonk Man. We got the Superfly Jimmy Snuka versus the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. The Hart Foundation versus WWF Tag Team Champions the Brainbusters. And Red Rooster versus Mr. Perfect. Ravishing Rick's rude awakening, the Ultimate Warrior vows to regain the title. Lower the music, manager Bobby the Brain insisted, as his man, Intercontinental Champion Ravishing Rick Rude, prepared to deliver his non-wrestling form of the rude awakening. In other words, to give a woman from the audience a big smooch. "I'm ready, Bobby," answered the cocky wrestler, turning to his victim. He continued, "I'll tell you what, you are a real beautiful woman, so you give me your version of the rude awakening." With that, Rude closed his eyes and puckered up for the blushing young female. Perhaps consumed in the moment, the broadly smiling redhead did not kiss the ravishing one as he expected. Undaunted, however, Rude said, "I know, you're overwhelmed. Aren't you? No, I'm just gonna close my eyes, and you just lay it on me, baby." Again, Rude closed his eyes and waited anxiously for the woman's thin lips to make contact with his. She stalled once more, while the Intercontinental title holder stood in front of her, blind to the world. Suddenly, the crowd erupted into a roar as former champion, the Ultimate Warrior, raced down the aisle towards the squared circle. As soon as the girl noticed the raging warrior, she left the ring in a flash, leaving Rude puckered up between the ropes. Just then, Rude's eyes opened to see a clothesline coming fast at his neck. Crack! That was the sound that echoed throughout the arena when the warrior hit home with a haymaker of a shot. Rude struck the mat with a resounding thud, and the warrior, like a destructive tornado, went on the attack. Ravishing Rick's Rude Awakening in 2 parts. First, the wrestling mode has Rude applying the standing reverse neckbreaker on 2 unfortunate souls. After beating the competitors, Heenan and Rude cull the crowd for beautiful women. The end result is a big kiss, courtesy of Ravishing Rick. Bobby the Brain Heenan and his arrogant protege, Intercontinental title holder Ravishing Rick Rude, are confident that they can hold off the awesome challenge of the Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam. On a rampage, the Warrior catches a foe in a press slam and throws roundhouse rights. Rude wiggles his hips while punishing an opponent's neck below. Angered, Rude can be vicious. We don't cheat. The Rockers deny illegal double teaming. Jesse Ventura is convinced the Rockers illegally double team, but they deny his allegations, stating they're only in the ring for the permitted 5-second time limit. WWF color commentator Jesse the Body Ventura said it for all to hear. The Rockers illegally double team. That's what Ventura claimed repeatedly over WWF television. WWF Magazine decided to look into Ventura's accusation about Rockers Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. After all, these 2 dashing young men have gained the admiration and affection of millions of fans. Michaels and Jannetty are known for their dazzling technical expertise, mind-boggling aerial dogfights, and their own special brand of courage. With all this going for them, do they need to cheat? We don't cheat, exclaims Jannetty. We don't have to cheat to win. Besides, that's not our way. We're not about to lower ourselves or set a bad example for our fans. Sure, there are instances when we both have to get into the ring, even though only one of us should be there. But the only time that happens is when opponents break the rules, and we have to brawl to protect one another and defend ourselves from serious injury. We don't do that unless we're pushed and have no choice. And you can't blame us. Under those circumstances, we don't start it. I won't call Jesse Ventura a liar, adds Michaels, but I will say that as far as what he says about us illegally double-teaming is concerned, he better get himself a pair of glasses. Then maybe he could see the truth. Speaking of the truth, Jesse Ventura ought to really tell it like it is when he gets to the Rougeaus. I won't even call them fabulous. If he wants to complain about cheating, he should pay attention to what that pair of con men, those Ragus, do each and every time they enter the ring. And Ventura should watch their manager, Jimmy Hart, too. The Rockers execute double power slams on their foes. Within the allotted time frame that the 2 partners can stay in the ring, they take full but legal advantage of it, striking with flying fists and cross-body blocks. The Rougeaus, conversely, break the rules by using Jimmy Hart's megaphone. Since the fabulous Rougeaus viciously attacked the Rockers on WWF Wrestling Challenge, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels have been warring with the brothers, managed by Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart. After the brutal beating, the Rockers have used very effective double-team ploys to shred apart the opposition, with such maneuvers as double arm ringers and flying double elbows. Dusty Rhodes, Mr. Americana. Dusty Rhodes has burst onto the scene of the World Wrestling Federation with explosive impact, winning over the hearts of the fans and defeating tough competition in the ring. Since Rhodes made his long-awaited debut, one man has had his eyes locked on him. He is the Honky Tonk Man, who more than anything else wants to show the world that Dusty Rhodes can be destroyed. A fearless athlete, Dusty heads down the aisle towards the ring. When wrestling, Rhodes is a grappling craftsman who crushes opponents with devastating moves like power slams. Conversely, Honky is a ruthless brawler. He uses every trick in the book to win. Honky Tonk slams an adversary and sets a wrestler up for the shake, rattle, and roll neck breaker. Honky says he's ready for Rhodes. King Duggan, walking tall, carrying a big stick. Hillbilly Jim was glad to pay homage to the American king. Where I come from, we don't think about kings or barons or none of that stuff, said the Mudlick, Kentucky native. But this here's the World Wrestling Federation, and the rules are different. From the reading I've done, I know that a king's supposed to look out for his people. And when I was in trouble in that ring there, the man they call the king came running in, risking injury and everything else, to save my neck. So I want you to put it down in your magazine that Hillbilly Jim thinks, no, change that, to knows that Jim Duggan is the king of wrestling. Long live the king. Raging former WWF monarch Haku is determined body and soul to take back the crown and the throne from King Duggan. Aiding Haku in his quest is his underhanded manager Bobby the Brain Heenan, who undoubtedly has a trick or two up his sleeve for King Duggan. Have 2x4 will travel is Duggan's motto. Andre the Giant chokes Duggan's ally, Hillbilly Jim. Duggan fires himself up for Haku's challenge, while the wily eyes of Bobby the Brain Heenan catch the action. Superfly Snuka goes to Fiji. The Fiji Islands in the South Pacific are famed for their gorgeous scenery, beautiful coral reefs that line the ocean shallows, and a people who have an ancient tradition as some of the fiercest soldiers the world has ever known. This is the inheritance that runs deep in the veins of the WWF Superfly Jimmy Snuka, a bull of a man who was born and raised in Fiji. Jimmy is proud of his heritage, and he wants his legions of fans to know about it. So he asked WWF Magazine photographer to go home to Fiji with him and tour the wondrous island paradise from which he hails. Jimmy Snuka shows how he learned to soar off a high perch and come splashing down on opponents in the wrestling ring. Jimmy garbs himself in traditional Fijian regalia and the trappings of a warrior. Although they are a fighting people, Fijians also love color and beauty. A Fijian warrior, painted, armed, and ready for combat, is a fearsome sight. As fearsome as Jimmy looks to his opponents in the ring. Paddling their war canoes, the men of Fiji terrorize their opposition, tribes from other South Pacific islands, As a young man, Jimmy learned the ancient fighting skills of his people. The warrior tradition in which Snuka was trained hardened his muscles and his will, which stand in good stead in the squared circle. I want everyone to know that Fiji is the most beautiful place in the world, says the superfly Jimmy Snuka, and that the Fijian culture is ancient and very deep. We are island people who have always lived facing the great mystery of the sea, which influences every part of our lives. WWF Lowdown. Brutus the Barber Beefcake stopped by the World Gym in Somerville, Massachusetts. Bad News Brown does not like anybody. The Hulkster tells Arsenio Hall about the mega-hit movie No Holds Barred. What American cities are perfect? To the man who believes he's flawless, Mr. Perfect, those areas are Duluth, Minnesota, and La Crosse, Wisconsin. However, King Duggan declares that Queens, New York is rather festive and grand. Caught in the act. Is this Dusty Rhodes' version of catching a cab? It could be. But he's heading to a place that every city has at least one of, the dump. That's right, Dusty enjoys collecting rubbish when he's not wrestling. Says Dusty, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and I definitely double do your pleasure. And live on pay-per-view, SummerSlam. WWF Champion Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Zeus, Macho Man Randy Savage with Sensational Sherry.